Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That is correct.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful Van Nuys, California.
Finally, a name that brings joy to our face just by saying it. CHOBO Studios.
No.
Yeah, this is great, man. So, what do you got for us today? What's this show going to be about?
You know what, Ed? I got advice for you.
Let's hear. I'm open I'm game, man. I need all the help I can get.
I need to do this too.
All right, let's hear it.
You know what it is?
What?
We got to get on a Weasel-Free frequency.
That's correct. Today's show is called Get on a Weasel-Free Frequency with Matt Pazzarelli. Whenever faced with a challenging circumstance, it's tempting to overwhelm ourselves by imagining the worst. However, we need not be bullied by our own fears. That's great news. To every anxious thought, we say, I do not consent to that. We then choose to focus on divine possibilities. This is indeed casting the burden on God, if you will, and by refusing to reopen the case, you will win. On this episode, Darrell and Ed drive home the fact that our reality is transformed miraculously by keeping our thoughts tuned in to all that is lovely. And during the second segment, Matt Pazzarelli shares proof that faith plus love equals blessings as we discuss today's daily word, which is bold.
It really is. Faith plus love is the combination, not just joyful, like the real winning combination, because I've been having to really dig into this personally lately with my own thinking. And that's where everything takes place, is in our own consciousness.
Correct.
And I'm really hanging all my faith on the reality that as my consciousness changes and I maintain it, I keep it off a weasel. I mean, I keep it off from going on to tuning into a weasel frequency and keep it on a weasel-free frequency, that my circumstances will reflect that. And that's why I like the faith plus love element that came up on this episode, because it's really joyful expectation, but plus keeping my mind thinking of all the things that are lovely. Like anytime a disparaging thought comes up about like this whole week, and you know it because I've been calling you.
We've been talking about it a lot.
We've been praying for people that we normally allow ourselves to what we think is the luxury to grumble about. Right. But let me tell you, man, we really don't. I don't have the luxury of a negative thought, and now it's becoming more and more evident about how wonderful everything corresponds on our behalf for good when we're vigilant on not giving ourselves the luxury of negative. Not that they're not going to pop up, but at least now I go, I do not consent to that. I'm not saying I don't consent to the other person's behavior. I'm saying I do not consent to my judgment of that behavior within my own mind. Yeah. And that's really being loving to yourself. Oh, there's a line in a book Ed's going to read from that really drove it home.
By Neville Goddard, which has been a big part of this week, the conversation, especially with you. Yeah. I think it came through your wife, Lori, right?
Miraculously.
Okay, so go ahead. Yeah.
And he says in there, negativity is violence against yourself. And that made me so sympathetic toward myself about any form of negativity, whether it's about someone else or I'm creating a scenario in my mind where I'm casting somebody as like, what if they possibly do this? Something unloving. Like anytime I'm thinking anything unloving about anybody, including myself, I'm actually being violent towards myself. So I'm going to go, wait, I don't want to do that.
Right. And that's when challenges come up or something that feels like it's like too big or too scary to deal with. That's really when it actually, these moments really become great teachers for us, because it becomes very evident which way our mind is going at that point. And I really like that, what you just said about that when we're thinking negatively, that it is a reflection of us being violent toward ourselves. Because I think it is easy in our world to just assume that, oh, no, I'm just being a realist, or not really put together that what happens is we get scared and we start thinking negatively and diminutive thoughts about ourselves.
Without even realizing.
Without realizing, because the programming has been going on so long that a lot of us at times have forgotten that our true nature is to be loving, kind, dynamic, amazing, fully capable of anything that our heart desires.
And to see those people in that same light as well.
Right. And actually, Alan Cohen had a reading this morning where he talks about it. He took the concept. I actually read this book. It's called A Bowl of Light, which is what the Hawaiians say, like that we are all born a bowl of light. And then when we feel negative, it's because there's been rocks, rocks that have been placed in the bowl that are just blocking the light. But the first person it's blocking it from really is ourselves.
Yeah, it's always,
Then we react to that scary image in our own bowl, and then we act that way towards others, and then they reflect it back to us, and so on and so forth. But having that thing to realize, it's also like that story about the frogs in the boiling water pot. When the water if they get put in the cold water and they slowly bring the temperature up, they don't realize that they get used to the hotter and hotter, and they'll die in the pot because they got so used to this uncomfortable situation, and then by the time they realize it, if they do it all, it's just too late, you know? But thankfully for us, it's not too late, because right now is the perfect moment always to shift our thinking, because the moment we shift into the flow of life, crazy things, doors open, because we were not seeing, when I'm in that negative, that nightmare, I'm not really seeing life for what it's worth. I'm just getting feedback of my own negativity, which is triggering other people's negativity, and we're all like, it's like the emperor's new clothes. This is not a scary, there's nothing too serious or scary about this place we inhabit. But once we all start believing it together,
it becomes a reality.
It really, because we start acting it out. I mean, I see it with the kids that I work with all the time. And what's one thing that's so different about, the Weasel-Free philosophy, that's what I want to say before we go any further too, is it's when we don't recognize that life is on our side. And then we start to be conniving. Think we have to outwit people or subtly bully ourselves and other people into doing things. And it becomes, there's like a secondary reasons why we do things, right? Like, because Darrell and I just did a Facebook Live video for the studio, right? And we sold, you would think we're selling the heck out of this place, but we're not selling. We didn't do it because we're like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We just come in. We're on this excited frequency. And we just point out what's exciting to us. And that's really the best way to sell anything. But what happens is a lot of people train themselves to look like they're excited about things. And it becomes like this canned professional thing. And that's great, whatever. They get hired, where they can sell things. But when you're actually attuned to the truth of what it is you're talking about,
anything you're enthusiastic about, because the root of the word enthusiasm from Latin means being in or with God. And so it's just so magical, and that vibration is definitely Weasel-Free. And and on a Weasel-Free frequency, which is love, then everything like love continues to circulate within our realm, our reality.
And you might be like us. You think, I'm not a good salesperson. I can't be successful in this way or that. But it's probably because you're just a person who doesn't want to be insincere or inauthentic. You don't want to just be someone who could sell anything. But when you're in your joy, you may well be the best salesperson without even knowing it. That's why I'm so good with the kids at the meetings I go to, because I'm one of the relatively few teachers who like really falls in love with my kids, with the staff that I work with. So when I'm talking at these meetings, I'm not trying to convince the parents of anything. I'm just sharing what I actually know. And their guard goes down, and they come away inspired, and they come away loving their kid more, and they come away loving the school more. And their kid comes to them telling how much they love coming to me, which already opens the doors and lets go of a lot of tension that would have already existed. So this Weasel-Free, what do we call it?
Frequency.
Frequency is... Oh my God! It is. It's invaluable, right? It's like I think maybe it's a Bible story I've heard when I used to go to Agape, which is where I met Darrell. Speaking of Weasel-Free frequency, but I think it's a Bible story about the pearl of something like it's something like a pearl that the limitless value. Is there something like that you'll do anything for?
Oh, yes. Actually, it's in the Neville Goddard book that we're reading from.
Oh, wow.
But we're not going to read that portion. But when you get the book, it's like in there. I can't believe.
Or something
and are you willing to let go? Because in the story, the parable is he sells everything he has, but which seems risky.
Yes.
But then he's given for this what everyone thinks is a measly little pearl.
Right.
But that one pearl is what attracts everything wonderful in his life. And that's what getting off the weasel-free frequency. Am I willing to let go of the old man, meaning my old self and my old bad habits of thinking that cause me discomfort?
Right. And that's one of the basics of the metaphysical meaning of the teachings of Jesus and the stories of Jesus. One of the things he says, like, drop your nets and follow me.
Yes.
He's saying, dude, stop banging on those doors that everyone's banging on. There's nothing there for you.
Yes.
Let go of that thing that you think, but this is the thing that's keeping me alive. This is the thing. No. Trust me. Follow me. And remember, the metaphysical meaning is within you. It's like follow the inspired, whole, divine part of yourself that's telling you. Everyone has it.
Yeah, the loving part. Yeah, the loving part of us.
In fact, the angrier and grumpier we are, the more we're just trying to hold the door closed of our own good, our own Christ consciousness, our own divinity, our own true calling. So that's why there's hope for everyone, because sometimes the person that's pushing and seems the furthest away, it's maybe because they were hurt. They felt the most hurt that they somewhere believed, I can't be myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? But they're also the one who most wants to be themselves. And sometimes all it is a little change of consciousness.
Wait, that leads perfect into those breaths.
True.
Okay.
Let's do that. And then I'm going to read a little from Neville Goddard. This is the book that Darrell and Lori, his wife, have been lit up by lately.
It's heaven. I highly recommend it.
You can get the audiobook.
Yes.
Wherever you get audiobooks. This book, there's actually a YouTube version. It's not the best reading, but Darrell got me so on fire that I listened to it on YouTube and enjoyed it. This will be on our reading list. We don't make money off that reading list, but we like to put the books there at darrellanded.com so you can order them for
tell them
your
the title for the people who are just listening.
Oh, yeah. It's called The Power of Unlimited Imagination by Neville Goddard.
Yes.
And Goddard is what? Goddard?
Yeah.
Neville Goddard. The Power of Unlimited Imagination, which is really everyone's imagination is unlimited. But too often we become taskmasters telling our imagination, no. You stay in that little box where I tell you.
Where it's scary.
Yeah, and that's why we end up with illnesses and anxiety, because anxiety can often be that imagination is just trying to bust out, and then we're like trying to hold it in, and it's like that tension causes this anxious feeling because it's like, oh my God, I'm losing control. But the way we're talking about it is the sweetest hangover.
It's the sweetest hangover.
It's the sweetest hangover when we let go of
I don't want
resisting who we are. Yeah.
Yes. Sweetest hangover. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
All right, so let's take a breath.
I don't want to get over.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Right. We don't want to get over that hangover.
Okay.
All right, let's take a breath. When I love being me, I'm weasel-free.
When I love being me, I'm weasel-free.
When I love being me, I'm weasel-free. All right. Can I do something we've never been able to do before?
Yeah.
Indy, I see you in there smiling and nodding, and I know we're in your studio, your dream. How are you feeling about what we're talking about? Because I have a feeling just the very place where we are has been you getting off the weasel-free frequency and doing the thing that you love.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you on that. That's the only way that's the only way you're going to last. Like you can't be in it for, overnight money or overnight fame or whatever we perceive to be what we want.
Right.
It's if you provide value over time, people will show up.
Right.
So it's just a matter of sticking it in, like sticking the course,
Yeah. Great.
So,
I love that.
Yeah. Starting this podcast studio is a step towards that, is a really confident step towards what I want to do.
Yeah, it's stepping out boldly with faith because there's no guarantee. So you're really stepping out with the joyful expectation that, you know, what's the line from Field of Dreams? Build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. That's right. That's right. We've been building this show for 10 years and we've been building it for longer than that because
we love it.
There was a time when I hit this like fork in the road where one part of me believed that I could live my dreams and one part of me was like so scared and thought that it was impossible. And I went through a lot of anxiety and I just made the decision, like, if this is real, I just took a leap. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way. There's a lot of tools. That's why I didn't have this show. But I remember being in so I went through a lot of, so I left my job, like, unexpectedly, and I had a wife and kids and stuff, a wife and kid, but I couldn't keep doing my job working with kids because I was having so much anxiety because I didn't know how to support myself in order to support others. But I was, like, in the shower going, like, God, you know how they say when the student's ready, the teacher will come?
Yes.
And I remember, but I was still like in that pleading state. But I was pleading, you know? And
well, it still works.
It still works. And I ended up, through that movie, The Secret, going to Agape, then going to that. The service was a little bit overwhelming for me. It was a little too, there's a little bit of weaselness in the, it wasn't completely weasel-free, but because there's a lot of sales involved.
A lot.
Not always for the best. But I ended up going to their noon meditation. And that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And then you showed me all of these authors who were saying everything that I believed.
Yeah, that's how it happened for me.
And they were there the whole time.
Right.
Which is amazing. That's why this stuff, like, it's freely given, you know. But we don't have to take like extreme leaps. It's just take little steps and say, yes, I'm open. Yes, it'll come through. Calm seas if we're willing to let it come through calm seas. Even if you're out there and feeling scared and there's a really loud voice basically that loud voice is what's causing all the grief and we get accustomed to listening to it and we don't believe that there's another way, but there is. But be gentle with yourself as well and laugh, you know, and because this is the whole premise is that life really does love you. Life is on your side and we just have to retrain ourselves and kind of into believing that. And so in The Power of Unlimited Imagination, Neville Goddard, in chapter 9, it's called Self-Remembering, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because we only really dip into weasel stuff when we forget who we are.
I got another good reading to follow.
Yeah. So we got some great readings. And this one says, Scripture tells us many are called, but few are chosen. The word chosen means to separate, to choose, to decide. Every day you're offered the opportunity to choose a new idea, to enter a new state from which to think and feel. Unnumbered emotions and thoughts are yours to call forth, but because of the aim with which you desire to be identified, or think you need to be identified, only a few emotions and thoughts are chosen. We keep our options real small because we think out of fear we have to be this, or what are they going to think if I do it differently?
Yeah, or it can only come through this one channel.
That's right. And so begin to rise within yourself by letting go of your former beliefs and restrictions. Choose the thoughts and emotions you desire to express and enter your desire through the act of feeling.
And a great follow-up for that is another book that we read from. It's called A Year of Miracles.
Yes.
Now actually on the video, people can see what I do.
Art, yes.
What I do to some of my books.
And let me tell you, the video will be available on the Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed Facebook fan page, and also on YouTube. There's a Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed channel. Darrell will slide that up there, and then we'll also put it on the Facebook channel. So if, you can go to two of those places and see what we look like and how amazing CHOBO Studios looks, and yeah.
Yeah, and we're actually going to have a soon-to-be available Patreon page.
That's right. What is that, patreon.com?
I think so.
Indy, is that where they go?
Yep, patreon.com, and depending on what URL you choose, I guess it could be patreon.com/Darrell and Ed or
Funniest Thing with
patreon.com/funniest thing.
Yeah, we'll do patreon.com.
But you guys can put it on your website.
Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. We'll put it on our website, which is darrellanded.com. It'll be on the Funniest Thing fan page. Then if you want to tithe monthly to support the show, all of that money, we put everything into the show just because we love it. We're going to continue to do that. But, part of this circulation and giving is part of this whole thing as well. So.
Yeah, because we pay for the privilege to share this stuff with all of you.
That's right.
So this is from A Year of Miracles by Marianne Williamson. And if you have the book, it's day 71 or March 12th.
Great.
I place my mind in service to love. When I think without love, I am not thinking at all.
Oh, man.
Unloving thoughts but make illusions. And that's what we're talking about. Whenever any thought that's not like love in my head starts weaving a nightmare that I start having to overcome.
Right.
And it's a horrible, anxious mental state to get into because it's sometimes difficult to snap out of.
Yes.
But listen, this has the remedy. I wish to be awake today to truer truths, the love beyond our mortal fears. I proactively make the choice today to place my mind in service to love, so I can experience the miracles only love can bring. May I not be tempted to forget my function as a bringer of love to everyone. That's such an easy job. I could do that. I don't need to do those other things. All I need to do is focus on this and know that I will be protected and my good will come.
Yeah.
It gives me a goal that, and I think I readily think, oh, well, that's easy because that's our natural state.
Right.
Instead of trying to do this and try to meddle here or manipulate this.
Right.
And the prayer, which sometimes in these books can be beseeching, this one's very good. It says, Dear God, please send your spirit to illuminate my mind. Mm-hmm. May all my thoughts lead me into love and away from fear. May love light my way all day. Amen.
Amen. When you read that, for one, it's amazing. I'm just sitting here marveling at how all of the books we read always take us back to the same thing, the same principles. That's why the stuff we're talking about, it's principle. It's once you find principles that work, you can rely on things. I think I become much more secure in myself because I'm basing my life on principles, not just on the whims of
or a good idea or this method might work.
Right, and we all have this inner feeling guidance that lets us know whether we're in sync with the principles or not. So it's built into who we are. And the other thing, though, what really made me, the other thing that stuck out when you were reading that was. So a lot of times I used to spend time, and my mind still wants to spend time, like thinking about what I need and how I'm going to get it, like at work, for example, right? In very little time,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that part of me wants to spend very little time thinking about how I'm going to be loving to the people around me when I get there. But here's the funny thing. We already know what we need and want, right? Like we don't have to keep rehearsing. It's not like we're going to forget. We need it, we want it, whatever. But if we're not loving and kind to the people who we want to get those things from, we're going to trigger all their guardedness, all their defensiveness, and it's going to be very difficult for us to get the things. It's weird. It's funny how I would rehearse the things that I already know out of fear, doubt, and worry, and forget the most profound and powerful thing, because I can forget to do this with my kids. I can lose, I missed those minutes because of this. If I come to the meeting with love, they're not going to nitpick me about that stuff. It's because every parent within themselves, whether they know it or not, just wants their kid to be loved. And if they see that I'm doing that and I'm loving my job, man, it's far more valuable than rehearsing everything I'm going to say at a meeting. So just think about that when you're going. Like today, what changed me during my morning routine was stop thinking about how am I going to get into the flow even. It's start thinking about how amazing the people in my life are.
Yes.
Spend a little time with that. And that changed my whole day. What were you going to say?
I just want to do this one. I just want to belt it out. We're down to the wire.
We got 2 minutes. We got plenty of time.
This one is really, this one really gives it to us straight in the heart. And it's by Emmett Fox, Around the Year with Emmett Fox. And it's today's reading, March 12th. It's called Cast the Burden. The tool is so clear and the promise is so good. It starts off with the Bible verse. Cast the burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteousness to be moved. We sometimes hear the expression used, cast the burden, and it is useful to consider what this phrase really means. Used intelligently, it is one of the great keys to spiritual victory. To cast a burden means really to insist upon harmony and peace of mind, and to cease from worry and anxiety there and then. If, when you are faced with trouble, whether it be old or new, you can affirm positively the harmony of being and then refuse to reopen the case, no matter how much fear may urge you to do so. You have cast your burden upon the Lord, and you will win. The change will come.
Yeah, I mean, if we think that we have to do it all alone, when I thought, even my life was in school got better when I realized I don't have to keep, if I study, let it go into my brain and let it settle in there. Don't try to keep running through it, because that just short circuits the very things we desire. So this is really about relaxing, consenting to living in a loving universe, and just remembering how loved and supported we are, and just watching things unfold in amazing ways. All right, coming up next, today's guest, Matt Pazzarelli, shares proof that faith plus love equals blessings as we discuss today's daily word, bold. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing on Unity Online Radio.
Well, we made it to the second segment of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
That's right.
Today's episode, Get on a Weasel-Free Frequency with Matthew Pazzarelli. But Ed has a reading to kick this segment off.
Man, this show is heating up, I have to say. We're live at CHOBO Studios here in Van Nuys. And because of this amazing studio, I actually got a second round of cold brew. And we know what happens when we get 2 cans going, man. Oh, boy.
I got 2 drinks going.
Double fist in it. All right, so this book is called Prosperity Now by Mary Catherine McDougall. It's an amazing book. If you don't have Prosperity Now and you want a booster shot, I really highly recommend this one. So in the chapter called Prosperity Through Expected and Unexpected, through the expected and unexpected.
Yes.
I love this. There's only one safe way to look for good. There's only one source it is going to come from. Everything we do for people, we should do for God and not for them. This helps us look to God for good. If we silently say, as we help someone, I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for God. We are making it easy to look to God for any reward or return. Whatever method you can devise to remind yourself that good is from God alone, it will be helpful. It will help if we say when we arise each morning, all that I do today, I do for God. I help him by helping anyone he sends to me for assistance. Because I work and do only for God, I look only to him for my good. My good is unlimited. I give in an unlimited manner, and I receive without limitation. All that I do today, I do for God, and all that I receive today is from God. And it keeps me out of the Weasel-Free frequency, because I'm not trying to, are they going to give me what I want? No, by me continuing to be a channel of giving, I'm staying open to the good, which is going to come from, whether it's my staff member, who's 2 different staff members today suddenly this week, texted me, said, what do you want from Starbucks? We're getting coffee today. Like, I bought them coffee before, but I never bought it to them to get something back. I bought it because it felt good. Like, I'm out and I wanted them to get a boost, and I want everyone to feel good. And then it came back to me like on a day where I was like, felt so good to be thought of by someone else. It was, so this stuff works, man.
Speaking of coming back to us, I want to thank our listeners.
Yeah.
And all the mail you send and the donations.
We had a great week in the mailbox.
Yes, and everything was, we just love it. We love communicating with you beyond the show. And if you like to send us mail, it's at Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. You could also go to our website, darrellanded.com.
Yeah, go to the Funniest Thing fan page on Facebook as well. You'll see a lot. And now you can go to patreon.com.
Yes.
Search for Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed if you want to tithe monthly, even $5.
Yeah.
Whatever it is to keep the show going. At patreon.com, Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, because people are often asking us, how do we tithe or donate? And
we're making it easier, folks.
That's right. And this is us allowing our good to come in Weasel-Free.
Yes.
And because we give, we put a lot of energy in, and we love circulating it, and we know you do too. So
also, speaking of a Weasel-Free,
Yes.
Our chief engineer outside of CHOBO Studios is Jeff Comfort back at Unity Village.
Yes.
And we love him, and each week, the reason we love him is because each week he takes us
right into the comfort zone.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to give a shout out to, again, Indiana Fawcett, who's also an engineer of the show today.
Yes.
Here at CHOBO Studios.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you. So now we have our team is growing.
Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully Jeff Comfort doesn't get, what do they call it?
Jealous? Envious?
Thank you. Envious.
No, he won't.
Not envious, jealous that we're seeing other engineers. Let's give a shout out to Silent Unity. It's the prayer line. If you want to get yourself, sometimes you're like us, like, I really want to get off the Weasel-Free frequency, but it's
like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, it's like the mafia, like our guest might know about. He's trying to pull me back in.
Yes.
That voice. And so we call Silent Unity, which is 800-NOW-PRAY or 800-669-7729. They have an app. It's the letter U, the word pray. It's free at the App Store. You can type your prayers in. It's just, again, what we're talking about is remembering who you really are. Now, you don't need to be a beggar. You're a child of God. You're an heir to the kingdom of all that's good. So when we remember who we are, we'll give more to life, not less. We'll have more to give. We'll be able to make a more positive influence in this day, right here, right now. We don't have to wait for all that other stuff to figure itself out. We can give our good now. So Silent Unity is a great way to get on that wavelength.
And another tool that I have been reading from this is 100% fact.
Right.
Since April of 1986. I was 23 and I thought, why is this guy recommending this little book? Is this some little book for little old ladies, the Daily Word? But let me tell you something. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't have anything I have in my life today if it wasn't for the fact that I learned to be kind and loving to myself each morning, and including a reading that includes an inspiring reading from the Daily Word. And today, a good friend of mine and now Ed's coming to join us to read and discuss the Daily Word, among other things.
Yeah, this guy lives it. He's got an amazing life. He's still living an amazing life, and he helps remind us to continue to get off that Weasel-Free frequency and live an amazing life.
And his name is Matthew Pazzarelli.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, guys. Great to be with you again, and I really enjoyed listening to the show, as I normally do.
Oh, man.
So I want to thank you all. Do I need to read right now? Is that what we're doing?
I know you're in a vehicle. Are you safe to read right now? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting outside of Macy's.
Ah, you little devil. Then we'd love to hear it.
Okay. This is Thursday, March 10th, 2022.
Yep.
Bold. I am bold and courageous as I stand firm in faith. I have daily opportunities to use my strengths, exercise my faith, and live life with boldness. I express spiritual boldness as confidence and self-assuredness. I live courageously through my divine identity. Within me are the attributes of divine wisdom, understanding, judgment, and power. At any moment of the day, I can shift my focus inward to my divine core. I shift my energy away from temptations of self-doubt or uncertainty and toward Spirit's presence and grace. Throughout the span of years and changes life brings, I am secure in that which does not change, the presence and activity of God in me. I choose boldly to stand firm in my faith and live life to the fullest. I hereby command you, be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. Very good stuff. I have a story about living boldly. Should I?
Yeah, of course.
Please do, buddy. Please do.
Okay. Well, I always enjoy doing your show, and generally I try to get to a quiet place and all of this preparation. And today is my day off from work. I've been having a great day. And I said, you know what? I don't have to prepare. It'll come about on its own.
Right.
So, yeah. So at first I went to eat at Olive Garden. And as it turned out, I got to eat without interrupting my time period. I mean, meaning being late for the show. And it would appear in another place and in another time that I'm a little short on money. However, I said, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy some sneakers and I'm going to buy 2 more pairs of sweatpants because, quite frankly, I always seem to be okay.
Yes.
When, like, I could have looked back and said, oh, I'm going to save some money and let's not spend money today and we'll just eat in the house. And it's my day off. And I decided to just roam. I've been having a ball doing all kinds of little stupid things. And I'm going to go shopping. And I don't feel like I'm going to be lacking in it or like I'm going to be jeopardizing my budget at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty cool, this stuff, you know. You know, when I wake up in the morning and, you know, I'm pretty young. I'm 62 years old. You guys probably don't know what it's like to be this young. And
wait, I'm almost the same age, you bozo, remember?
Right? So you wake up in the morning and I'm a little more stiff than I used to be.
Yes.
And
Right.
I got this little cat named Indy. And although the right thing would seem to do would be get some circulation, get your iced tea, sit down, get your things together, this is going to sound so bizarre, but I end up always getting on my knees and laying down and cuddling with my little cat. Now, it may not make a lot of sense, but once I'm there, something sets the tone for the day.
Yes.
It's like I would never think that would be a bold move. Grab a book, read, you know, but it's a bold little tiny thing. And I always get in touch with what really matters when I do that.
Wow.
And to a great deal. I don't know about always, but I never regret doing it. Let's say that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's say that. So I don't know. That's my bold leaping out on a spiritual thing too. And I think you guys will laugh at this. And then I'll be quiet for a minute. I was at this meeting, and there were these wonderful people there, but they were there because they were in so much pain.
Right.
And people are talking about, like, people that have been at this meeting for a while are talking about letting go, letting go, letting go.
Right.
And right. It's a great thing.
Right.
But these people don't have a clue about letting go. So they're kind of curious, the newer people. And I spoke and I said, look, I'd be crazy to try and explain that to you right now, but here's what it might look like. You know, it would be like after this meeting, we all go home in our houses and take a shower with our clothes on. Why? Just to let go of all the ideas and reasons we have not to. just go do something so bizarre like that that's against every way in head that would tell me not to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they looked at me like I was crazy, but a couple of them were laughing.
Well, that means they were letting go in that moment, because laughter is a great way to let go. So that's amazing.
They were letting go.
Yeah, and they were identifying. There's a couple of things you said that really are incredible. One is the reason why taking the time and choosing to cuddle with your cat instead of like, okay, this is my cat, let me just feed it and let me do my regular routine, is because it's so bold, because it's being vulnerable. We're allowing, and vulnerable means in touch with the real, you know, the child within me, the real Christ child that's always within me.
Yes.
And when we listen and honor that, it seems bold because of all the noise pollution and the weasel-filled frequencies that we can see around us and buy into, make it seem absurd, which goes perfectly with the letting go story. Yeah. You know what you reminded me of when I was new, like to all of this stuff? A couple of the people that helped me, they helped me with the most silliest ideas, but it got my brain in the habit to let go. And the first thing it says, Darrell, what do you do? Like, what is the first piece of clothing you put on every morning? You know, or how do you put on your pants? Let's say that.
Right.
I go, how do you put on your pants? Do you do left leg first or right leg first? And I always do left leg first because I'm right-handed, so I put all my weight on my right foot. And they said, you know what? You're not going to do that anymore. And these were guys in the military that kind of led me into this spiritual way of life. They said, from now on, you're going to do everything the opposite. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, you're going to do it with your left hand. If you put in your left leg first, you're going to do right. Just do this for a month. It started to tingle my brain. I started to feel like, it was really one of the contributing factors for me really getting, like you say, enlightened. Because I was waking up and breaking free from these old grooves. And it seems like, how is that going to help me with big things in life? But it really does, because it gets my mind out of those old grooves. And another thing you were talking about was about how you went along with those prosperous ideas instead of the stingy ones. And you feel so good about doing that. And the crazy thing is that feeling of gratitude and appreciation, that is the feeling that's going to draw and replenish and always has been replenishing your finances. And that's how I've been living. It's the only way I could do it, because the other way makes me feel so bad. That gratitude, just like Plato said, you know, it's not just a nice feeling. It really is a magnetic force that draws to itself its own nature. And even Plato said, you know, a grateful mind is a great mind attracting great things to itself, which is more of what makes us happy.
That's right.
Wow. It's great.
Matt, you're like an answer to my prayers, because this week, like even a morning routine of prayer and meditation can become kind of robotic for me. Like, if it becomes another thing that because this is what I'm realizing too. It becomes another thing that, because I have like my list of what I'm going to do, and I'm very kind of like, once I dial a habit in, which is the only, because I need habits that are simple.
Like structure. Simple structure.
So once I dial it in, I'm going to do it. But if I start clinging too much to the structure out of fear of what will happen if I don't do it,
because that's when it becomes superstitious.
It's become superstitious. It loses the spirit of the actual activity. And just this week, I was like, I got to add something fun to this, because I was just thinking, if I was like drawing right now, I'd probably be getting more out of that, drawing something funny, than I would by doing this, like trying to hammer it myself. So you saying that is like the universe affirming what I was already thinking that. And then it's just expanding my mind. And then the other thing that Darrell just mentioned with regards to there's so much more that we can choose to be doing and thinking about and feeling. And, this is what I was going to say. Darrell was talking about choosing to do things with your other leg or your other hand. And I remember when I used to play basketball for fun with my friends, but I was already starting to get into this stuff. I started getting into just dribbling the basketball with my left hand, right? Gotcha. And I do it. I wouldn't think about it, but before we played, I just do it. And I do a few little drills, not think about it. I wasn't hardcore. But then one day during a game, and again, this is just with friends or whatever. Right. One day during a game, my left hand kicked in, and I did something with it that I had never done before. But by it, and all of a sudden, what it makes me think about right now is there was this whole other part of me that was available the whole time. But it was asleep, But I kept always going to the part that was comfortable. It felt easy because there's a momentum to the groove. But all the great people like Kelly Slater, who's a pro surfer, the 11-time world champion, he always tried new boards. He always tried to do something different. He enjoyed. So he was always, and he's still to this day, he's 50 years old, and he just won Pipeline, one of the biggest.
That's crazy.
And he won it 30 years apart, when he was 20 and when he was 50 in a pro sport. It's crazy, but he is always expanding his mind, and he's blowing the doors off of what anyone ever thought was possible for someone.
You know, oh, this is so good, because this is another thing that I need to hear too, because the don't be afraid if you're an artist or, you know, like I draw often. Right. And the only reason I discover new pens or brushes or something to draw with, like, oh my God, this is better than the last one, is because I allowed myself the opportunity to try, like experiment. However, every time I do come across one of those, oh my God, this is even better than anything else I've used before. I can't believe it. I'm so glad I experimented. But then once again, I get, ooh, like this is the only pen I'm going to use.
I better go with the safe one.
Yeah. But what happens is your experience will let you know when to move on. Because what happens is my experience starts to go, none of these drawings are coming out. I'm frustrated. That means inside, I need to honor the risk of it's time to draw with a new pen or use collage as a solution in what I want to do, or try charcoal instead of ink. And let me tell you, folks, when you do it in that moment and go with that bold thing, which is really being vulnerable, risky, and even though it's a small risk, what happens is you'll go, just like with your left hand, you'll draw with this new item and you'll go, oh my God, how did I do that? It worked out. Like to the point where now you have a new favorite thing. So we really can keep, it's all there for us. It's just, are we willing to let go, like Johnny drove home, of these old mental habits, which have been very safe, but now we got to keep being the new man, the new woman.
Yep. I do. Sometimes I even listen to music. Well, not sometimes. I often try to listen to different music that I normally wouldn't listen to. Just, I like the way you phrased it, Darrell, about opening up new channels and new grooves inside my, and like, even if I'm not really enjoying it, I don't know the effect it'll have for me when I go through my day. Like you said, Ed, one day your left hand just kicked into play. And I don't know the effect that it'll have on me. Like it may not make me like that kind of music, but it'll appear, you know what I'm saying, in other areas of my life.
You might meet someone who loves that music and you might say, oh my God, I just happened to listen to that. I didn't know that before. You know, like that's the thing. Once we give God more options to use
work
through
for
us.
Because
once that's what happens. Like the moment that my left hand kicked in, I was just in the flow. I wasn't thinking.
That's right.
So then my divine mind was like, just used another tool that I had thrown into the mix.
Oh, this is turning out to be a better than expected episode.
Did you guys ever try a food that you never wanted to eat in your life?
Yes.
And then you try it and it's like, what was it? I never liked it.
Oh my God. That just happened to me. Thursday, Thursday night, 2 nights ago, a buddy of mine, Joey Church, insisted we go to a
former
sushi,
guest,
a sushi place I've never been to. And he said, "Don't worry, I'm going to order everything for you."
Wow.
And I'm like, And the first thing that came out was like, no, like I like sushi within reason, you know, wrapped in the rice, you know, with a little avocado and something. No, this was like raw pink fish on a plate with nothing else.
Nice.
And I'm like going, oh no. And he goes, no, you're going to love this. And I go, okay, you just eat it by yourself? All right. And I grabbed it. I go, you know, because he treated me to it. I feel like I'm a little on the spot, but I was like, no, I'm going to. It was heaven, man.
Oh, it's the best. I can already taste
it. It was like vinegar with balsamic. And I was like, holy cow, okay, let's go. I'm ready for some more. So yes, Johnny, that just happened.
Matt, we got to wrap this up. Matt, we got to wrap up the show, man. You got a quick button you want to put on, throw out to anyone about the Weasel-Free frequency before we wrap up?
Well, I just love you guys and all the people that are listening, too. Keep doing the things we're doing. Whatever you do, wherever you are, affect me. So thanks for all the great stuff in my life.
You got it. Man, hang on to the line because we got a little story here. about the last time. Remember this?
Yeah, this was the last time we were all together.
Yeah, last time Matt Pazzarelli was in town, he took Darrell and Ed out to dinner. It was an Italian restaurant that he noticed on the corner near the hotel. You know, he likes to stay in those fancy hotels on Sunset.
Yeah, and he drinks iced tea.
Yeah, he needs the fresh lemon in his iced tea. He was taking a walk in the morning to get that iced tea.
Yes.
And he noticed an Italian restaurant on the corner. So after being seated and looking at the menu, Matt looked up and said,
"Just so you know, this place is run by the mafia."
Darrell and Ed were amazed and said, "Wait, you've never even been here before. How do you know?" Matt leaned over, pointing to the menu and whispered,
"Look at the special. It's broken leg of lamb."
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God. Oh, here comes the mailbag. Enzo, the FedEx feline, coming in with the special thank you to Hope A. Grayless Hansberger for the tithe that she sent. Marilee Warren said, "Hey there, I'm a longtime listener since you started your podcast. I'd really like to make a donation towards that end. Wanted to know the best way to do that. Now we have patreon.com.
Yep.
Was going to mail a check the old-fashioned way. Wasn't sure who to make it out to, or if there's a better way. Love your show so much. Was so happy when I found out you were back.
Yes.
Thanks for being so real and so funny." Sherry Folsom said, "Thank you, Darrell and Ed. I'd like to send a donation. For the longest time, I avoided listening to you on Unity Radio. I was at such an unhappy place in my life.
Wow.
I thought there's nothing funny about any of this, but I finally did, and I'm so glad. Went back and listened to a bunch of episodes and always look forward to the next one."
Oh, look who's here.
Look at those big billowy pants.
It's Hammer.
Hey, boys, you want to sing along? Let's get this out of here.
MC Hammer, sure.
My music hits me so hard.
Hard.
It makes me say, "Oh, my Lord, thank you for blessing me with a mind to rhyme and 2 5 feet feels good. When you know you're down, super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such. And this is a beat can't touch. Can't touch this.
Okay, visit DarrellandEd.com to find easy
Matt
links
Pazzarelli, we love you.
to everything we do.
CHOBOstudios.com, Indy Fawcett.
And as always, thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on Unity Online Radio.
Can't touch this. Can't touch this.